Aum Gangadipataye Namaha. Namaste, and welcome to another episode. And yet another of our Vedanta Sutra comments. Today let's take a look at the next Adhikarana. The one within the sun and the eye is Brahman because its characteristics are mentioned therein. So to elucidate this, I have to read you the passage that it's referring to. Now that golden person who is seen within the sun, with a golden beard and golden hair, is named Ut, for he has risen, Udita, above all evils. Rik and Saman are his joints. He is the Lord of the worlds beyond the sun, and of all objects desired by the gods. Chandogya Upanishad. And there's another one later on. Now, the person who is seen in the eye is Rik. He is Saman, Ukta, Yajus, Brahman. The form of that person in the eye is the same as that of the other, the person in the sun. The joints of the one are the joints of the other. The name of the one is the name of the other. He is the Lord of the world beneath the body, and of all objects desired by men. So this Chandogya Upanishad excerpt basically says that the sun and the eye are both Brahman. Why does he say that? Because of all the senses, the eye is the foremost, and it is also the most expressive. The life force can be seen coming from the eyes. We say that someone's gaze is full of light. What does that mean? That means that Brahman within illuminates the objects of consciousness, actually projects them into being. And when we look at the sun, we see that same light, that same illumination. Now it says the hair and beard of the sun. What is that? Well, did you ever see a solar eclipse? Actually, it's not recommended in the Vedas to observe eclipses because they're inauspicious. But if you see a total solar eclipse, the corona of the sun looks like a big hair and huge beard, all glowing, golden, just like the sun himself. This sunlight is very important. It's important for health. It's important for consciousness. People in the far north, if you've ever gone or met people from the very far north, there's something missing. They're not all there. I'm sorry. I went to Norway a couple of years ago, and it was very strange. It's like there's a part of the brain that's not there, is just not functioning and doesn't recognize the existence of other beings in the same way as oneself. Anyway, that's because there's not enough sunlight. So the person in the sun is actually beyond the sun. There's two personalities associated with the sun. One is the sun god, the Jiva, who identifies with the sun as his body. His name is Ikshvaku. We talked about this before. But then there is Brahman, who is behind the sun, mentioned here. He is behind the sun, and he is beneath all beings as the world that supports them. So he is the sun and moon. He is the earth, the stars, all other beings, the elements. He is all this. He is our self, the unconditioned, pure awareness prior to consciousness, prior to being, prior to manifestation. So he is there in the sun, looking at us, and he is within us as our true self. So what does this mean? This means that at every moment we can have darshan of the Lord. At every moment we can see God, either within or without. The sun and moon, the great luminaries, the earth beneath our feet, our very self, our consciousness, our energy, and so on, is all Brahman. We didn't make any of it, did we? We don't even really know how it works. Do we know how the eyes work or the ears? Do we know how the stomach digests our food? Or the heart beats and circulates the blood throughout the body? But just like the sun is the center of energies for the whole world, the Brahmanda, in the same way, the heart is the source of all energies for the human being. So when we talk about the heart, or when Ramana Maharshi talks about the heart, he doesn't mean the physical heart on the left side. He means the being itself, the source of all these energies. The next sutra, also on account of a distinction being made in another text between the two, the person in the sun and the individual soul animating the sun, the Lord is different from the latter. And here's the Upanishadic text. He who dwells in the sun and is within the sun, whom the sun does not know, whose body the sun is, and who rules the sun from within, is thyself, the ruler within, the immortal. This is from Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. So try to understand. I am Brahman. You are Brahman. The sun is Brahman. Actually, everything is Brahman. Brahman projects by an act of will, by thinking, by dreaming, by creative visualization. He creates this whole universe, the Brahmanda, with the sun at its center as the source of all energies. And because he creates it, actually we can observe this process of creation directly every morning when we awaken. Because previous to our awakening, the world does not exist. We are off in dreamland in another world, which has different rules, a different body, a different mind, no ego, for example. Then we come into this world and this body, and in that few minutes between exiting the dream state of consciousness and fully waking up in what we call waking consciousness, it's just another dream, actually. But in those few minutes, the entire process of creation takes place. Try to understand. The same creative energy that we observe externally as the sun, which is the source of energy and life for all the planets, goes on within our hearts. Not the physical heart, but the real heart. The Brahman within. When we change our state of consciousness, remember we talked about this earlier, that when we change from one state to another, we have to go through Brahman. because Brahman is the glue that holds them all together and connects them. So if the connection between dreaming and waking, let's say, is Brahman, that means in the time that we go from one to the other, we go through Brahman, the fourth state, Turiya. So we get a chance to observe Brahman creating the whole universe from scratch every morning. And if you take a nap in the afternoon like I do, you get to see it again. And he destroys the whole universe at the time of exiting waking consciousness into another state, either dreaming or deep sleep. So the Brahman that is within the sun and creating this whole universe is also within us, creating the whole universe. And the only reason we think we're different from Brahman is that we have this desire to be an individual. Now, really, do we get anything out of this? Do we really benefit from being a separate individual? Do we really enjoy by coming into the world? And then all these false things spring up. Huh? When we first come into the world, our consciousness is relatively unconditioned. That's why everybody likes babies. Everybody likes kids, right? They're so much fun because they're just unconditioned consciousness. Well, they can also be a mess. But anyway, that consciousness then gradually gets conditioned. People start telling us, you are so-and-so, and your name is such and such, and you belong to this family, and this country, and this religion, and so on, and so on, and so on. They start telling you who you are. And all of those things are not you. Not at all. What you are is the unconditioned being prior to the arising of consciousness. Now, when you identify with and come from that being, then you find everything. The world, love, pleasure, knowledge, energy, health, everything that you could actually want from the world actually comes from within yourself. And when you realize this, you become supremely independent. And it's not a matter of changing or becoming anything, because we have been this forever. And we always will be this Brahman. Tat Dharma, see, thou art that Brahman. So here Vedanta is teaching us not to think that the world is created by some external force or that God is out there someplace. Yeah, God is out there. He's in here. He's everywhere. So this Brahman is the source of the light, both in the sun and in the eye. The illuminating consciousness that brings everything into existence. And he is also beyond that. He is also the pre-conscious state that is the source of all these energies and is the real cause of all existence. Om Tat Sat. Om Harihi Om.